Sunday in Vegas, I was sitting there with a buddy, and we're at Caesars, and we looked at each other and go, we got to get home.
It's come Sunday, and talking with Tom, and we decided, it's something's not right. It just didn't feel right.
15 minutes before the opening bell on Monday, October 19th, the New York Stock Exchange is bombarded with sell orders.
We came in and we were absolutely convinced they were going down.
$500 million worth of stocks are sold instantaneously.
So on Monday, I come in flat. I have no positions, and the world is in chaos.
AP can't buy them. 5 evens are trading, 6 evens and 7 evens are trading, 8 evens are trading here. JP with Merrill Lynch coming in buy side all the way up from 95 up to the figure 05.
Stocks open 10% lower than Friday's close.
Everybody wanted to sell. So that meant some well-known companies couldn't even open for trading for hours. Exxon, the world's biggest oil company, didn't begin trading for nearly 2 hours after the stock exchange opened. IBM was an hour and 15 minutes late. Shares of Walt Disney couldn't even begin trading until 11:12 a.m.
It all hinged on New York Stock Exchange. I mean, in today's world, we have electronic trading, so we don't rely on any one exchange for that. But back in 1987, it was all done manually through the specialist system, and there was really no other way to get those stocks open.
Market opens at 8:30. We never really get to trade because we go through an opening rotation. At that time, it wasn't all electronic or anything like that. We actually had to go through the strikes line by line by line. They had never done this before. It would take a half an hour to do just one call.
But we were all complaining, and then probably an hour into the trading day, everything reversed.
2 opening rotations, and brokers were just saying, make me a market. They didn't care what it was. They said, just make me a market. We were quadruple wide or triple wide, meaning that the markets, could be like $5 wide or something like that. It was, and let me tell you something, guys weren't making markets. I mean, everybody standing in the pit was making a market, but sometimes the broker didn't want to hear the market that they were given.
I mean, we were stressed operationally, we were stressed everywhere. There were no automated execution systems. People trading stock against their options positions would talk to a clerk who would hand signal to a post to trade stock. They were swamped.
25 years ago, buying a stock was not an instantaneous process. A customer would begin with a phone call to his or her stockbroker. The broker would take the request and pass it to the firm's trading desk. A call is then made to the brokerage firm's booth clerk on the floor of the exchange. The clerk writes down the order and passes it to the firm's floor broker. The broker then walks to the trading post where the stock trades. There, the broker finds the specialist who finally executes the customer's order. However, for those with access to the technology, the process is as simple as the click of a button. On Monday morning in New York, thousands of computer programs are triggered, selling billions of dollars in stock from around the world.
The sound of the dot machine sounded like a machine gun, particularly when volume ratcheted up.
Everybody had to liquidate anything. There was a panic going on, and if you had an asset, it had to be sold. So that, while gold was a flight to safety on Friday, it was liquidated on Monday.
By 10 a.m., sell orders had reached $1 billion. Computers on the exchange floors could not compete with those of the arbitrageurs.
Grand selling taken to the ultimate art form as Wall Street's very biggest players stepped in and unloaded multi-billion-dollar blocks of shares.
Once again, we're figure even bid here now. Oh, I was quoting $10 wide. Figure even bid here now, guys. Once again, figure bid at 05. Oh, even bid, that's an 1100 bid at 05 even offer here. 5s trade. 7 evens are trading. Guys, once again here, guys, 7 evens are trading. Look at the VIX up to 38. 7 even bid here now, guys. Once again, 7 even bid here now.
The volume of orders overwhelms Wall Street's machines.
There were institutional orders coming in, sell 10,000 shares of XYZ and sell it now. And anytime you heard sell it now, it set off a brain wave in you that said, oh my golly, if it's 10,000 out of this person, what's coming behind it? So there was a lot of fear and trepidation.
Remember, if you trade in the OX pit, there's no hedge. So the only hedge was the S&P 500 pit at the CME. And the S&P 500 pit, the markets were like $100 wide.
The OEX relied on the New York Stock Exchange. And when the New York Stock Exchange wasn't orderly, the OEX couldn't open in an orderly fashion.
The designated order turnaround system on the New York Stock Exchange stalls repeatedly throughout the day.
Everything was a nightmare. I mean, I had spent years and years as a broker prior to this, so I had a lot of feeling for my friends that were brokers. They had stacks of paper this high, that orders that they were trying to get filled. None of the electronic systems were working. Nothing was up and running. Everything it was just a disaster. It was a total disaster.
112 million shares are lost in the system. Four hours after the opening bell, there's pandemonium on the floor.
1:30, seeing people crying, running out of the pits, it was eye-opening. It was scary.
Pulling traders out of the crowd, yelling, you know, I need to know what's going on. I need to know what your positions are. And it was like chaos. It was almost like a civil war kind of outlook there. That's how I felt.
There was never any let-up. It was a constant barrage of selling. Everybody was in panic. The world was in panic. And whether you were in the stock market or not, you wanted to sell something, anything. And that was the kind of moment it was.
Any hope of buy programs to rescue the market is gone. Traders who have been scrambling nonstop across the exchange floor are near exhaustion.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, there was a little bit of a bounce, and everybody started to think, is this the bottom? It wasn't.
The 7-hour massacre ends with the Dow finishing down an inconceivable 508 points, 5 times greater than the record set on the previous Friday.